We're going 95.3. I'm Chaz Kangas, and joining me, my special guest at this time, she is an Emmy-nominated writer for Conan. She is a New York Times best-selling author. She's a co-host of the Jackie and Laurie Show podcast. She is an alumni of Tough Crowd, and she is performing at the Acme this week through Saturday, February 22nd. The great Laurie Kilmartin. Laurie, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I can't believe you remember Tough Crowd. That makes my heart happy. Thank you.
Hi. It was an important show at an important time, and now there's been a recent sort of resurgence of it online because it's all over, you know, the Wild West that is the World Wide Web. And and it was something that was very special to me, and I'm sure many others. So
yeah, I think it was kind of like the Wild West of comedy too. You know, it was a little bit less policed, which made it exciting to watch and sometimes horrifying to watch. But it was so much fun to be a part of it. And that's all credit to Colin Quinn for creating that atmosphere for everybody, you know?
Definitely that mix of like genuine unpredictability. It wasn't the kind of, as some things can be, that contrived. You never know what someone's going to say. Whereas like with Tough Crowd, it really did feel like, oh, this could completely fall apart at any moment. But, you know, luckily everyone's consistent enough to make it land on either being like hilarious or a, wow, what am I watching? Which are my two favorite reactions.
I know. I would argue, having seen all of them, because I was working there, it did fall apart many times. But yeah, that was also that was fun, and it's so weird because I've done, Byron Allen has a show, I think it's called Comics Unleashed, and you can't believe how leashed it is. It's, everyone's doing bits that they've already done on television because they don't want anything new. They actually want like old stuff that's safe, and he'll just throw to you and he'll ask a question that leads you right into a chunk, and it's made to look like Tough Crowd, which is sort of strange, where it's the comics are all sitting around a host, but it's completely regulated. It's so different from Tough Crowd. I remember doing that show after Tough Crowd going, what is this? Yeah,
there's an amazing YouTube video that's just a supercut of Byron Allen transitions.
No, oh my God, I gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you today. It's so great because he'll be talking to someone and be like, yeah, so I hear you're getting older.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh my God, that's a classic. I mean, more power to him. He's a billionaire. I think he just bought the Weather Channel. So, I'm always impressed when a comic figures out how to squeeze, even other comics, but figures out the industry, because I certainly haven't in that way. But, whatever.
When I first heard he bought the Weather Channel, my instant thought is he's going to be saying, so I hear you're a low-pressure frequency cumulus cloud.
That would be I'd love some transitions to different weather fronts. That'd be great.
Yeah, but so speaking of Tough Crowd in that regard, and being so much of it now does exist online. At the time Tough Crowd came, pre-Twitter, pre-YouTube, pre-Facebook, and so it was really unique in that you had these different voices interacting, speaking to each other, and it was very, very current. Unless I was bamboozled by TV magic, it was either like filmed and aired like either that day or like within like that same week.
Oh yeah, it was definitely day of, and it was like Comedy Central, I think, repeated it once at 1:30 in the morning, and then looked away. I think they were like, the Daily Show was their sort of jewel, and it was highly written, and Jon Stewart, and I think they were embarrassed by Tough Crowd because it was so rough at times, and some of the comics were fairly ignorant about the stuff they were talking about. And they were always paired with like Geraldo or Colin or somebody who knew what was going on. But I think that I always felt like Comedy Central was sort of embarrassed that they had Tough Crowd on there, and they didn't really try to get anyone to watch it. And if we'd have been allowed to stay on one more year, I think that's when YouTube started. Tough Crowd ended right as YouTube was starting, and if there'd just been a way for us to start clipping out the show, day of, or let people just see little chunks the next day, or immediately, I think it would still be on the air because it was so funny, and you had Patrice O'Neill and Greg Giraldo and Rich Voss and Keith Robinson and so many other hilarious comics that were just constantly, they're friends, so they knew how to destroy each other but still remain friendly. And I think that comedy roasts have sort of, taken that place in a way that sometimes it doesn't seem like everyone knows each other. And Tough Crowd, they really did know each other when they were calling each other fat and stupid. Like, they meant it genuinely with love.
Yeah, there was such a just different rhythm and vibe to it that was so unique. And I think part of that is why it's managed to live on and still maintain being a cult classic. There's so many websites that are still devoted to archiving a lot of the episodes. So I'm wondering then, when you hear from people who've discovered Tough Crowd in the years since, what's that response kind of like? And do you find it interesting as it's sort of like being a bit of a time capsule of that Bush era?
I don't think I've met young people that were kids when it was on. Most of the people are people that saw it and then it went away and were like, what the hell happened to that show? And if I remember correctly, it's not on Comedy Central's website. You have to work to find it. They really aren't, they aren't helping. All of the Daily Show archives are available officially in Comedy Central, but, I don't think Comedy Central is a Tough Crowd archive that they're putting out there. So it's basically people that had it saved on their VHS tapes and, put it on the internet. So all the video looks, shaky and, degraded and stuff. So it does feel like a dirty sort of secret to have because there's no clean digital copies out on the internet.
Yeah, that underground railroad of tapes still thriving and living on. So
right.
Yeah. Cool. So you're here this week. You're rocking at the Acme. And so and being that you're from California originally, and you're still LA based, right?
Yes, right now. Yeah.
Cool. So do you find there's much of a difference between Minneapolis crowds and California crowds?
Well, Acme is a unique jewel. It's a great comedy club, and the audience has a tradition of going to the club. But every time I talk to someone after a show, they've been to the club many times before. It's hardly any. It's not a lot of tourists and newbies, or if they are newbies, they're going to be regulars. It just seems like people that understand comedy and understand the tradition of it, and so they're willing to go with you on dark stuff, which is all I ask. I talk about parenting and being a female, and I like to be kind of dark and subversive, I guess, as possible. And the crowds here go with you on that, and I love that. And LA, they do as well, but they're also, it's a little less of a tradition, to go out to stand-up. It's usually in LA, it's like stand-up is forced upon you because you're doing your laundry, and all of a sudden there's a show. LA has a lot of weird shows that just pop up where people are congregated, so in a way, maybe stand-up has sort of seemed like a pain in the ass at times. And obviously, if you're going directly to a club like the Store or the Improv, or Flappers or something, it's not. But I feel like people in LA are a little less invested in it like they are here. You have to get your car and you have to drive through horrible weather and find parking. And it's an investment in your time and money. And so when you're there, you're like, I'm here to see a good show. Give me everything you got.
It's a vacation destination.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah. So, speaking of LA and then out there and writing for Conan, is it a different writing process for you, writing stand-up versus writing for television?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like I have a little part of my brain has Conan O'Brien's voice in it, then it runs 24/7. And so when I'm, looking at, stories for the monologue, it's sort of like, how is this gonna work in his voice, and how is he gonna like the story? And so I'm sort of evaluating that way. And then for myself, my act comes from my personal life, and it's they never cross. I'm never surrendering a joke to Conan because what we do for the show is super different than what I do for my act. They maybe they're parallel because it's trying to get a laugh at the end of a sentence, but other than that, it's very different stuff.
Gotcha. And speaking of in your own voice, you're very prolific on Twitter, and one of your most beloved bits is the running President Hillary Clinton. And so I'm wondering, what have been some of the more interesting responses you've gotten from that? And has there been anyone within the Clinton camp or the peripheral Democratic Party who's ever responded to any of those or acknowledged them?
Somebody from the Obama, one of the Obama campaigns said he loved it. It's basically I just take a news story that a Trump news story and flip it, and it's President Hillary Clinton and her daughter Hillary Jr. and her husband, her third husband, a former male model named Mellon, and just you flip everything and you can see the ridiculousness of Donald Trump a little bit easier, because I think we're so anesthetized to it. It's hard to see him clearly. But when you however people feel about Hillary Clinton, what they thought she was going to be, if you put Trump's actions in her and her family, it's way worse than what you thought she was ever going to do. She has a resort called Clint-a-Lago, and the Secret Service has paid hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer, funds for her family to stay there and stuff. And I think I don't know, we're just used to how rotten it is right now. It's hard to see it. Some people think it's real. Some people get mad at me because they think I'm going to hurt Hillary. Like they're like, Fox News will think this is real, and some people just don't get it. They think I missed like 4 years of current events or something. They're like, oh, she's not the president. Yeah, I know, that's the point.
Yeah, the scathing indictment, like it's now just going to come up that this is going to be what really hurts her chances in 2016 are these tweets. Yeah. Cool. Well, once again, thank you so much. Looking very forward to this weekend. Come and checking you out, Laurie Kilmartin at the Acme through Saturday, February 22nd. And at AnyLaurie16 across all social media.
Yeah, thanks so much. 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday, 8 and 10:30, both shows.
The best times there are. Central Time.
That's right.
Yeah, cool.